Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. This video is going to be my TBR for round 2 of the Disability Readathon, which if you haven't heard about yet, you can go ahead and watch my announcement video, which will be linked somewhere on the screen. So I am basically going to go through here and tell you loosely what I have mapped out in terms of reading. I'm trying to give myself a little bit of flexibility since this readathon is taking place under unusual circumstances, and also I want to give myself the flexibility to read some stuff that I know I'm actually going to be able to get through and enjoy during this week. So our first challenge for the readathon is to read a book by a disabled author. That's just like the most basic one, right? So I have 3 books that I'm going to be choosing from. I will probably get through all of these in a week, but on the off chance that I don't, that's not really what I'm going for. I'd at least just like to start these books sometime this week and get something, meaningful out of them in those times. So the first book that I'm going to be reading is The Oracle Code by Marika Niekamp and illustrated by Manuel Pretano. This is something that I am super excited for, not just because I love the character of Barbara Gordon from the DC universe, but also because this is the first time that an actually disabled author is writing this particular disabled character from comics. I am so stoked. I love Marika Niekamp's work. I love reading it wherever I find it, and I'm super excited for the new book that they have coming out later this year. But yeah, I am definitely looking forward to hearing their take on a beloved character from the world of Batman at all. All right, next book that I have is one that I bought for the Disability Readathon. I got it for the Disability Readathon last year, but I didn't end up picking it up during that time, and that's Queer Disability Anthology, edited by Raymond Luczak. This basically reads very much like a who's who of people that are prominent disability thinkers and writers and activists and such. And this is also an anthology that I really wanted to read because it is racially diverse, which is, is very important for this round of the readathon because we are trying to prioritize stories by people that are multiply marginalized. So, got that. And then I also have a YA novel that is science fiction-y, which is one of the books that Erin gave me for the holidays this year, and that is On the Edge of Gone by Corinne Duivis. So this is actually interesting because this is about an autistic girl surviving during the apocalypse, and the author is actually autistic as well, and also is the creator of the hashtag Own Voices, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I think that it's going to be an interesting take on the typical apocalypse survival type narrative, and I love this genre of books. Might be a little bit weird to be reading it right now during a global pandemic, but this is how I cope. So there we go. Okay, so we also have a challenge to listen to podcast episodes that are by disabled people, and I just recently discovered an actual play podcast for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that's called Going in Blind, and it is an actual play podcast where all of the players and the DM are blind or visually impaired. This is kind of an older podcast that started airing in 2015, and I found it because I was literally just scraping around my podcast search bar and being like, okay, I need new podcasts for D&D to listen to. So I'm excited to listen to it. I listened to the first episode already, which is basically the introduction to D&D, and it's flashing back to a time before we had 5th edition, which I was just like, oh wow, this podcast is really old. 5th edition just came out. But I'm gonna really enjoy this. I think it's gonna be delightful. I really like actual plays. It sounds like the production quality on this is also going to be great, and I'm very much looking forward to that. All right, another one of our challenges is to read a Twitter thread about disability. That's not really something that I can plan out in advance, but given the fact that I follow enough people that are writing and thinking about this on Twitter, the likelihood that I encounter a Twitter thread on disability during that particular week in April means that I will be able to complete that challenge. So I'll report back to you on which Twitter thread I actually decide to read, but like I said, that's not really something that you can plan in advance because it's a social network. And then the last challenge was to read a blog post by disabled people. So I have a couple blogs like this that I follow. A lot of them I found through Twitter, some of them I found through other means. So I'll just quickly go through and give you like a little blurb about what each of them is about, and I'll make sure that everything is linked below if you're interested in reading any of these. So the first one, got my laptop here, that I want to start with is Black Girl Lost Keys, which is by Renee Brooks. She is a Black woman living with ADHD, and her blog is all about that. It's got a focus and mission to educating and motivating women who have ADHD, specifically women of color. She's a great Twitter follow as well. So I also recently discovered a blog through a disability Facebook group that's called Disability and Pandemic. This is by a fellow named Matt, and he created this blog in response to wanting to basically have a place to collect stories of disabled people's experiences of this global pandemic. It's a pretty new blog. As of right now, it has only 2 posts, but he is accepting submissions. So if you are disabled and you would like to write something for this blog about your experience, find the details in the description box below. We also, of course, have Ramp Your Voice by the inimitable Vilissa K. Thompson. She is another disabled Black woman that writes a blog with just like focus on every possible aspect of life, but the idea behind it is that it is supposed to ramp and amplify the voices of disabled women of color specifically. It's a really great blog. Of course, we have the Disability Visibility Project by Alice Wong. She's also got a podcast about that. If you haven't heard of it or checked it out yet, you absolutely should. Like, this to me sets the standard for disability visibility, and I really appreciate and love the work that Alice does. Let's see. Uncanny Magazine, that I talk about quite a lot on my channel. It's a science fiction and fantasy magazine, also has a blog, and they have some of their like personal essay type or nonfiction essay type articles posted online for free. I recently read a really good article there called Toss a Coin to Your Bitcher by Suzanne Walker, which you may know her as the author of the Mooncakes graphic novel, which I just finished and loved. And it's basically all about the problems of disability representation with the character of Yennefer in the Netflix show The Witcher. And I really needed to read this because I had a lot of feelings that I was trying to articulate about why I think that Yennefer is not great in terms of disability representation. And this really just helped me kind of put those into words. This is another blog that I just found randomly while I was Googling stuff about disability and like the apocalypse, like apocalypse fiction and stuff like that. And it's shoshanakessick.com. Shoshana is a writer and game designer and has a lot of stuff about LARP design and tabletop gaming design on the blog. But I came across this blog post that was called Disability Erasure and the Apocalyptic Narrative that I thought sounded really cool. So I'm definitely going to be reading that soon. So we've also got Crippled Scholar, which is the blog of Kim Souter, who is an autistic and disabled blogger and academic, and provides some really useful like insights and impactful insights onto being disabled and also working in higher education. We've got Disability in Kidlit, which is a sort of blog, sort of a website that is designed to compile all of the representation of disability in children's literature, but there are actually book reviews on that website by disabled authors. Of course, there is also Dahlia Adler, who has her website that is absolutely filled with great resources about own voices, disability included, but not only disability, so definitely check that out if you are looking for good own voices book recommendation. All right, and that is going to do it for my TBR for this round of the Disability Readathon. Please make sure that when you are posting what you're going to be reading for this readathon that you have closed captions to make it accessible to everyone that wants to access it. And don't forget to tag us using the hashtag Disability Readathon whenever you declare what your TBR is on whatever your platform of choice is. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of what I do, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because that's the best way to get updates every time I post a new video. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.